Have you ever been in a room where an actual fight breaks out?
Terrifying.
It's never like in a movie. It's just a bunch of guys sort of like hugging at each other's waist and just pushing each other into pool tables. And I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like being here.
Have you ever been in a fight?
Once. She challenged me to a fight. Why? Because she just wanted to fight me. I'm like, I know who will put a stop to this. My parents. And I told them, hey, Amy McNabb wants to fight me. And they were like, fight her, son. We were theoretically friends. Friends, Jerry. What's up, Deej? Did you ask me onto this podcast? Did you have something you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to say welcome to Your Inner Child's an Idiot.
Thank you.
This is the podcast where we look back on things from our childhood or thereabouts.
Okay, because we didn't grow up together.
And we see, were they any good to begin with? I don't know. Let's find out together. My name's DJ.
And I'm Damon. I don't know why I'm introducing myself to you when we've just been talking at a good clip.
So this movie, which you don't know what it is.
Correct.
Our listeners
That's
already
the game that we play for points, a point system that only I understand.
Is there points? How
course.
am I doing?
Everything's a competition.
How am I doing?
Oh, you're doing poorly.
Oh.
Okay, so it's a movie.
It is a film. Yes. Yep. This is, I don't want to say, I'm going to say something in a minute that's going to give it away. But this movie launched careers. It launched, I would say, kind of a wave of things.
Is that a play on words? Or are you
it
just
launched two particular careers.
Okay. All right.
It is dear friend of the show, LT's statistically favorite movie. And most importantly, this movie is not your fault.
Actually, I can attest.
Damon?
Yeah. Not you, man. I know what this movie is.
What is
it? Even before you said those crucial pieces.
Okay.
This is Good Will Hunting.
Yes, it is.
By Gus Van Sant.
1997.
Launched the career, of course, of the patriarchal Skarsgård and and Robin Williams, of course. And Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver
didn't exist before this film.
That's right. We didn't have the technology yet, and we just got it.
Yeah.
To have a driver so small
that it's a mini. We only had maxi drivers before this one.
She legally qualified as a mini. And of course, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, whose career keeps paying dividends to this very day.
Without this movie, we would never have had Batfleck.
True. And that movie that I confuse with that Matt Damon movie about the Great Wall, but it's not about the Great Wall. It's about medieval England. It's like a Me Too story, but set in medieval England, and Ben Affleck has a terrible goatee and Adam Driver's in it. Come on, we all saw it. It was the number one movie for 6 weeks straight. We were all singing the songs from it. The Last Duel.
Oh.
Is that what it's called? Matt Damon.
I never saw that.
Night movie. The Last Duel. Damon, you genius.
Oh, like Knight movie.
Knight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Python would
is it
say
at night?
Kniggets. Yes.
Yeah, they saved on costuming because they said everything at night. It was a period piece, but you don't know because it's dark.
And they did a Dogma 95 style where they used no artificial light. So it was just a black screen and people bumping into things.
I learned that from Project Greenlight, also related, that period pieces cost a lot more money, which makes sense if you think about it, but I had never thought about it before.
Because you can't wear blue jeans and just wander in. You gotta wear a kilt or whatever. Kilt?
Because I already brought it up, do you want to touch on what I mean by statistically favorite movie?
Yes. I think this is a phrase that I started using because she would reference
certainly
this
popularized
movie.
it within our friend group.
She would reference this movie often, and specifically, I think it was the "How do you like them apples?" Apples. My apologies to the Boston community.
They're going to be up in arms.
She would say that a lot.
They're usually so peaceful and calm, so I don't want to upset them.
So peaceful and calm, and racist enough to make me feel like I'm back home in Tennessee. But she would reference the "How do you like them apples?" And I remember being like, "What the hell are you talking? Why do you keep saying that?" And she's like, "It's from Good Will Hunting."
Do you like apples?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she referenced, I think, the "It's Not Your Fault."
Yeah.
And I feel like there's one other thing. Maybe, I can't remember, but I was like, is Good Will Hunting your favorite movie or something? And she's like, oh, no. I was like, well, why do you keep fucking quoting it at me? A man who constantly speaks in movie quotes sometimes from movies I've never seen. So it became known as LT's statistically favorite
just
movie.
By the amount that she quoted.
The sheer amount that she quotes it on a regular basis.
And I would say, it still comes up a fair bit, I think, just in quotes.
Gotta go see about a girl. I think I just said that the other day. I don't know why.
When you had to go to the bathroom.
When I had to actually, have I ever told you this? That me and Tyler do refer to going poop as I gotta go see a guy?
No.
So Tyler will be like, yeah, I'll do that in a minute, but I gotta go see a guy. And then I'll go upstairs and go to the bathroom. Just a little vision into our life.
That's kind of great. I wanted to do this movie because I know we'd have a lot to say about it, but also this is like, an Oscar winning, like this is what is put in the pantheon as a good movie. And I wonder, was it? And
well, with the Oscars, you could go either way. You never know what you're going to get.
I do think that I've seen it enough that I don't think it's going to be just god awful, but it is one of those where I wonder, it's worth a revisit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want to do. And I think I wanted to talk about the career arcs 30, almost 30 years hence. 25
DJ,
years.
Don't
1997, like so not quite. So we're getting closer to 30. Yeah. And it I think it's interesting to reflect on their careers as they kind of like came into the limelight with this movie. Matt Damon, for the longest time, post this movie, was like the star, and Ben Affleck was kind of like the also ran. And then it kind of, it didn't flip, but it definitely, Ben Affleck, I think now, mid 2020s, is kind of confusing, because he's like,
he has had the more tumultuous of the two's career. I feel like Matt Damon has had a pretty steady career.
Yeah. He had the whole Bourne shit.
And lows.
Yeah. Ben Affleck he's like an auteur. He's a director. He's Batman.
Oscar-winning director.
Argo.
His movies have won Oscars. I don't know if he's won Oscars for directing them. I'd have to check. Greg, can you?
Yeah. Can you just?
Thanks. Yeah. Don't. Without the attitude, though.
Just snorted into the microphone.
Greg.
Fucking Greg.
These interns,
Jesus.
Yeah, I know your dad runs the podcast company.
Greg Patreon is his name.
That's where that comes from.
Patreon.com/idiot, by the way.
That's why it's called Patreon and not Patrons.
Yeah.
It's named after his family.
Greg, OnlyFans, Patreon. It's a hyphenated
His
name.
father was the first man to jack off on camera, and now if you jack off on camera, you have to pay him a dime. Them's the breaks. That's capitalism for you.
How do you like dim apples?
He patented the media.
Go on. You were going to say something.
I was going to say something very witty, but I'll instead say this. That in 1997, when this came out, I was deeply in the closet. And so I had this brewing resentment towards Matt Damon in a way that I couldn't fully put a pin on it.
Okay.
And there's just, I was
it's
just
called
so
attraction
mad at him, for some reason, and resented his success and symmetry, facial symmetry.
Okay.
And broad shoulders. So we'll see how that comes up. So I remember being kind of like a little bit of my closet casedness came out in, I guess like hipsterism, where I was like,
yeah.
Good Will Hunting. I don't think more like bad Will Hunting.
Nice.
Thank you.
High five over the internet.
And so that's what I remember. I remember I was in speech class the year this came out.
Okay.
And a girl gave a speech on how this was the greatest movie of all time.
Whoa.
And I hated both the movie and her. Her name was Shayna. And Shayna. I carry her name with me to my dying day. And that's I know it's not right. I'm not a good person. I have a lot of problems in my brains.
Here lies Damon's Xanthopoulos, and it just says, fucking Shayna.
Fucking Shayna. That's the best. But also, like, your favorite movie shouldn't be less than 5 years old, is also a rule I carry with me.
Yeah.
Come on.
And it's like, I think something can be your favorite, and that's unarguable, right? Like, you can just say, this is my favorite. And maybe you could even say it's currently my favorite, right? But then when you say best, you got to do some justification.
You're dragging us all into it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I guess there's an argument for this movie in the fact that it is, an acclaimed movie.
A heralded movie.
And I don't think something has to be acclaimed or successful to be best, but...
Good save. Man of the people.
Yeah. I voted for Bernie. I'm just trying.
Yeah, I'm just a guy. I voted for Bernie and then Trump twice. So what are you going to
do? A voter I want to get in the head of.
No, you don't.
To burrow from the inside out. To kill the person.
To kill him.
Yeah.
And it's a him.
Certainly. Joe Rogan. So I think this movie is interesting also from the your favorite thing perspective, which is an Ernest Robin Williams.
Ooh,
lot of Ernest Robin Williams.
I hadn't even put two together. This might be the beginning of my realization that I do not care for Ernest Robin Williams.
It wasn't Patch Adams?
I never saw Patch Adams because that was radioactive. Like I couldn't. I was like, I couldn't possibly, without a lead coat on, go near that movie.
Just a close,
It's even worse because it's like I'm Ernest while having a clown nose on. Get fucked. God rest his soul, of course.
Yeah. Praise be his name. So
peace and blessings be upon him.
We get a lot of serious Robin Williams. I think this is, I don't know. I think it might be a little maudlin for our current cynical taste, but I'm hoping that this movie strikes that right tone of like, they're definitely trying to like push the tearjerker buttons, which can be cloying and annoying sometimes, but doggone if it doesn't work. I know, as I'm talking to someone who often cries at, dog food commercials, that I know that it'll get you, but that doesn't mean that you're going to like it.
I won't. It doesn't get points just for getting me.
I guess that's all I have to say.
All right.
Well, I'm excited to watch it. Did you, once you eventually did watch this, what did you think of it?
Oh, I resented it even more because I liked it.
Okay, so you liked it, but then you were like mad because you liked it.
But also, there's also a broiness that keeps me at arm's length. The posse, the squad that is in the center of this story. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's squad. They're all construction workers. They're all blue collar. They're all wicked dumb. Aside with one exception, notable exception. Will Hunting, I believe, is his name. Is that his actual name?
Yeah,
it can't be Will Hunting.
Yeah, I think it's just like a grammatically confusing sentence. His name.
We're hunting for a goodwill, not goodwill as in like goodwill towards man.
The B is understood. Will be hunted.
Anyway, yeah, I think I resented it for that. I resented that they were sort of like these wunderkins. They were welcomed into Hollywood, and even though they had really been working. I mean, Ben Affleck had already been in several movies before this with his old teeth. Matt Damon, I remember, I think he was in Medal of Honor. Do you remember Medal of Honor?
Is that Meg Ryan? He's like he's like a heroin addicted soldier or something.
Yeah, and he's super thin.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I've got my own problems. I feel like this podcast, documents that well.
I just want to tell you, when I come to record this podcast and I check in first, right? I sign in.
Yeah.
I get
you put your timesheet in the little thing, the dinosaur mouth, like the Flintstones.
I sign into Riverside and and you're not here. That's the best part of my day. Because I think one time, one of these times, you're just not going to show up. Because you've gone on to bigger and better things.
That's one of those speeches that I'm like, oh my God, I can already film, just from hearing the speech in real time, I can already film the last scene of this fucking movie.
Watch along with us. We'll be right back. Good Will Hunting, 1997.
Why did you add the name of the movie right at the end, like you're a Library of Congress card at the end of the introduction?
And keep reaching for the stars. I did not even remotely think about what to do for a commercial here. So
no! And usually we really work it out. Do you just want to talk to me in a Boston accent? Do you just want to do math equations while we, and then the answer, if we do it right, all the variables will spell www.patreon.com.
Okay, an acrostic. You want to link it together? Just real quick, on the fly. I don't like how it gets dark so early now. I was trying to think of things with that vowel sound so I could do my Boston accent.
You just thought, how can I work dark into a conversation?
It's so dark out
wicked
here.
Dark, yeah.
It's wicked dark.
Now, do I just say the R word just willy-nilly, or what? Well, is that what? Because that's the vibe I got from this movie. Do you just want to start throwing slurs
go
around?
Sox. Second of all,
go Pats.
Go Pats. Third of all, patreon.com/Innerchild's an Idiot. Support our show. You'll get some extra episodes. Mm-hmm. You'll get first access. You can listen to episodes at least a day before everyone else. Maybe a couple days, depending on how ambitious I get with the posting. Sometimes time catches up with me. But still, early. Always early.
The important thing is that it is earlier than other people. And in a way, that's all you really need.
That's all it really
is. Just knowing you're accessing something that other people can't.
Yeah. And listen, if you want to suggest, something else that we could cover, we'll eventually do it.
That? You hear that? That's my fingers rubbing together.
Oh, okay.
In a money way.
Because of
listeners.
Boston.
In a money way, not in a filthy way.
Because of the cream pie.
Oh, yes. You just slip a little bit of that cream pie, which is a cake. But we gave you cheesecake, which is a pie, so I'll let it slide on the Boston cream
cookie
pie.
From Mike's.
Is that
cannoli?
a Boston thing?
Yeah.
Cannoli.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Get a double burger from Kelly's.
You get a degree from Berkeley.
Sam Adams. You could get Sam Adams. You could get a degree from Berkeley. Is California, is it not?
No,
or am I thinking of the other spelling of Berkeley?
You're thinking of the other Berkeley. You're thinking of the actually probably more famous, but not to musicians, Berkeley. You see Berkeley. I'm talking about the Berkeley College of Music, which if you're into
I'm thinking
music,
of the Berkeley that's silencing conservative voices.
Oh, they would never do that at the other Berkeley. Anyway, patreon.com/Innerchild's an Idiot.
I believe that's what we were getting around to, yes. We are the most dramatic, and I cannot, it's ruined my entire gauge from how invested I should be when Tyler screams. That I can't, I'm like, oh no, are you hurt? And he's like, nah, I just spilled some half and half on the floor. I'm like, okay, well, that's not, let's try and be reasonable.
Rob,
oh God, okay.
Rob, definitely leaving the gay screams, the wicked gay.
Wicked gay screams.
First of all,
yes.
Are
we recording? Is this the episode now? Are we in the episode?
Yeah, we've been in the episode this whole time.
Oh, great. Perfect.
I want to begin as I always do, like the second half of our episode, I always begin with like, you think I'm afraid of you, you big fuck? I just like to ask you that.
You just like to what your thing is, because you are a well-adjusted person, is you immediately want to size up any man that's in your purview.
Yep.
Especially if they went to kindergarten with you.
Yeah.
Maybe beat them up in front of children. That's the DJ I know.
Yeah.
That's my DJ.
I mean, it's called channeling. You should learn how to do it. We're talking
Can you insult my dead wife while you're at it? Jesus.
I guess this is my job to recap this. I didn't, for some reason.
You brought this upon.
For some reason, I usually, if I'm going to recap, you can probably tell because how good my recaps are. I usually write little notes to myself for recapping purposes. Didn't do that. So let's just wing it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, let's.
There's our main character, William.
Good, yeah.
He's good. His first name, Good. No, Will is a dirtbag from South Boston, who's had a rough childhood. He's a janitor at Harvard, and he
MIT.
MIT. You're right. MIT, and he solves a math equation, supposedly very challenging, near impossible math equation is put on the board by Professor
Stellan Skarsgård. LeBeau.
LeBeau takes him under his wing, but realizes, hey, this guy's a little rough around the edges. Puts him in therapy with his former college roommate, the very skilled choke slamming therapist, played by Robin Williams, Sean McGuire, and they form a borderline inappropriate, but a relationship, and he helps Will be the best version of himself, as Will kind of works through being a young man with a terrible past of abuse and negotiating all the opportunities in front of him as a genius, a mathematical genius. He could always just play, and he navigates also a relationship with Minnie Driver. And at some point, his friends give him a car. So that's pretty much the movie.
Yep. Those are... Jesus. And then he goes to be with Minnie Driver.
Yeah.
And gives up on his
with the car.
Job that he just accepted.
I mean...
Which, as a pencil pusher, I was like, oh, that's so much documentation that someone had to do. And now you're going to go get laid in California, and someone's going to have to do more documentation to explain why you're not at work.
To offboard you. You just
talk about being a champion for the common man, that there's honor in working construction. What about the honor of that pencil pusher who has to fill out all this HR documentation?
I just want to reiterate that I think, and we can get into this when we get closer to the end of the movie, that first of all, are you okay?
I'm doing a one-man show just for you. Both one men. I'm one man and you are one man, the audience.
Just sort of tap dancing over there.
I did the thing where I touched my glasses and then my brain was like, hey, Damon, I can't focus on anything else. So that was, and then I couldn't find my little glasses wipe, my little very dust-encrusted, dust-free glasses wipe. And now I found it.
And now they're all shared.
Now we're talking about it because I did it in the most dramatic way possible of just bobbing and weaving around so that you would clearly notice, that would clearly throw off your game, but I'm blaming you for it.
Did you get a little nice haze over it with that crusty?
Oh, yeah.
Do I look like a glamour shot now?
You look like you were in witness protection, just a blurred face.
Did I ever tell you about my sixth grade teacher? I think her name was Mrs. Barrett. She would, this is only tangentially related, but I thought of it when I thought of like a big
thumb. She put you in a chokehold once, so that's why it's related.
No, she would pass out, handouts, and she would lick her thumb very aggressively, not like in a not inappropriately, but very grossly. And she would...
Right, she wasn't sucking her.
It was like the first one really got a slap on it. And I remember because where I sat next to her desk, I would always get the first one. And it was like you could see the wrinkles in the paper. It's like, no thanks.
Because it was so waterlogged. It was so waterlogged from her saliva.
Yeah.
That's nice. And then, I mean, it never dries, right?
No, it's just like that. This mimeograph will never be the same. I just want to reiterate, and we can talk about this more when we get to the end of the film, but I feel like the car played a lot bigger of a role in this movie and the ending of this movie than I realized. Like, he was not gonna go to California because he couldn't go to California.
He had no means with which to go.
And I think that's a really good, he could have, I guess, maybe later when he worked at his job for a little while. But the reason he's able to fuck off and just go to California
and find out.
And find out. Fuck to the west and find out, I always say.
That's what Manifest Destiny was all about. Yeah, I guess I had forgotten about the car aspect as well. In that it is like the final big beat aside from just sort of the end. But, he's always getting rides from Chucky or Chow or whatever his name is. Chucky, yes, Chucky.
Yeah. His buddies believe in him.
Do you want to... I mean, I feel like we won't be able to approach this movie until we get it out of the way. Do you just want to go to the problematic corner?
Yeah, I think we're... A large portion of this is going to have to exist in the problematic corner. Let's dip into it. Hit that problematic corner music.
Ooh, watch out now, y'all.
When I put my arm down, that's when you hit it. That's when you, for next time, just...
Ooh. Damon, what is your fucking problem?
Our slurs like you are my problem. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Okay, I feel like there's two categories of problematic elements here. The first one being just people who are involved in making this film.
Ah, yes. Our favorite, you know the names,
Yeah.
two brothers, scoundrels, I call them, ne'er-do-wells.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't want to be caught in a dark alley or a well-lit room, for that matter, with Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
Yeah, this is a Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey more than Bob, but I mean,
joint.
Bob's no carnival either. Is that the phrase?
I don't know. We also
He's
got
no roller coaster either.
Casey Affleck.
Wait. What did Casey Affleck do?
I'm gonna Rob, if you could just give us some Googling music real quick.
Fuck.
Go to AOL.com.
Should I just type in accusations?
Go to AOL.com. in the search bar there. That'll take you to Google.
Fuck 2017. What was I doing? Was I just napping? Two women sued the actor. The set of the mockumentary I'm Still Here. Just a real pleasant experience for everyone, that documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Resurfaced during Manchester by the Sea's lead up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Joaquin was there too. Another person who seems charming in real life. Fuck. All right, who else is on? Who else? Did Stellan Skarsgård do something I need to know about?
I don't think so. I don't think. Listen, we're gonna do our best, and these, there's some allegedness in all of this. But
of course,
Danny Elfman. Actually, we've touched on that before.
We've touched on that one before, but I have to say, it is my obligation to say that the accuser of Danny Elfman has rescinded her claims.
All right.
So you just accused an innocent man.
Tossed. So that's category one, is just like
dicks who were involved.
People like with either alleged or real assault or harassment allegations involved, like Weinstein. I'm like,
Get
that
fucked.
one.
Yeah.
We can accept that one. And then there's the sort of problematic elements that are in the story, some of which are tied to the fact that, he is... Will is a troubled kid with grew up in a rough neighborhood. So that some of that is like built in purposefully, and some of that is just like sort of its time, and it can be a little bit challenging to navigate that, right? Because it's like
right. I think some of the words, the unpolitically correct words they use, one, were not uncommon to hear in 1997 in general,
right? No
matter what strata of a society you were in. But also,
even
I think
in Cambridge
that
itself, you could hear that.
But also, I feel like is there to sort of give us some color of these rough and tumble Southies.
Yeah. So they're fucking dirtbags, and they're supposed to be, but also they're supposed to be kind of charming, and they kind of are. So it's they
are. I did because I was really against them at the beginning of the movie. I was really against them at the beginning of the movie because they do not seem like guys I want to be around, even in the same bar as them.
Yeah.
They're just like driving around and just beating the shit out of guys who have some sort of vague connection to them.
Yeah.
Not charming. But they do eventually wear you down. Let's work on our phrasing. They do eventually sort of charm you by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But I still do not want to hang out with any of them.
Yeah. Well, we got just to get a quick one out of the way, not because it's not egregious, but just because it's not a big part of the story, is at one point Lambo and McGuire are talking, and they say someone's Indian, and they say dots not feathers, which is a thing that people have said.
They also call Will's friends R-word gorillas.
Yeah.
And also, Lambo apparently is very comfortable just hitting on his students.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like. That was the one that really bothered me because it didn't feel like a color thing. It felt like a color to color the character. It felt like, oh, he's one of the cool professors. I'm like, no, he sucks more now.
It was just like a little bit of a character beat for him, but it's supposed to be just like, I don't think you're supposed to be as creeped out as I am about it. I mean, he's not a good, like, he's not.
He is a dick, and he is full of himself, and sort of. So I mean, as we watch the movie, yeah, I guess maybe I could give it that, because at the end of the movie, we kind of realized with Robin Williams' speech that Lambo is kind of full of himself and kind of makes it everything about himself. So it makes sense that he would use this award that he's won years ago to sort of throw his weight around in the school. And, you know, I mean, there's one scene when during the montage of various therapists that Matt Damon goes to see, where Lambo is just sitting outside the office, just talking to some girl. She doesn't seem particularly impressed, but you can see he's just sort of waxing on. Maybe it's a good vision into what a kind of an asshole he is. Yeah. But the fact that it's sort of like glossed over, like this is kind of what he does. I'm like, oh, you mean praise on women in subservient roles to him? That's charming. Well, and there the one time it's kind of front and center, it's also doesn't work out well for him. He like is at like a reunion celebration, and one of his students come up, and they come to him to tell him somebody has solved the equation, which of course ends up being Will. But he's like, listen, it's Saturday. Why don't you just relax? We don't talk about work. And he's like, unless you want to have a drink with me tonight. And she goes, haha, maybe. And then she like goes on to tell him. Now, I think part of it is like just kind of a stilted delivery, because it was like maybe a one line extra kind of vibe of an actress. No offense to her at all. But it was also like the way she said that is a fake laugh sort of way that someone might handle that. If I tell you maybe, will you stop talking about it? And I can just go not fail me in the class to ask you about? Yeah. And then there's a couple of big ones besides that. Do you want to talk about the outing of George Plimpton? Which is actually my first epic poem that I wrote. We're going to be reading Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock, and then DJ Phillips' The Outing of George Plimpton. Which just sounds like he went to the store. Right. Like, it sounds like a cartoon that would air, you know, in the middle of Sesame Street, in between the puppet parts. In between the puppet parts. The puppet parts. Also, as I call the bulk of Sesame Street. That was my third album. In between the puppet parts. That album was filthy. Yeah, I mean, he's the first therapist that he goes to, and he's talking to, Will of good fame, is fucking with all these therapists. And the first one he talks to, he's telling him that he goes to fetish clubs. And then based on on George Plimpton, who plays the therapist, reaction, he's like, does your family know you're gay? And just starts kind of being a dick to him. I remember this rubbing me the wrong way as a kid as well, even though I wasn't even out to myself. Yeah. But I was like, why are you picking on this poor old man, whether he's gay or not? And then, of course, the common tact, which is like, oh, I don't have a problem with your sexuality. I'm just bringing it up to sort of bully you. Right. Yeah. Get fucked. But I mean, I think this still does belong in the problematic corner, but like, he's an asshole. And no, he is absolutely, no, it works. And his character is an asshole. The movie is saying this kid is an asshole, like, and doesn't know how to channel his emotions, but is extremely smart and uses his intelligence as a cudgel to defend himself and attack others. Like, so it's not like one of the big triumphs of the movie, and this is not problematic necessarily, like, is in the early part of the movie is when he, wins Minnie Driver's number, is because he basically bullies an asshole with his knowledge. And it's like, it's just a different way of being a fight. And I think they showed, him fighting physically and the parallels of that with later in the bar. It's the same thing. It's just, he does it in a nonviolent way with his words. And it's kind of interesting, that parallel. I don't think that's problematic. I think that's just showing this character. But, he is not he is charming, but he is an asshole. Yeah. He's a wiseacre. Yeah. That's what I would say.
And I wouldn't say he's a ne'er-do-well, but he is not often
I need to beat
do
the
well.
shit out of someone on a basketball court because he was walking.
He had beaten him up only
15 years prior.
15 years hence. There's a couple other big thing is just sort of the physical violence, not just Will, but so when Will has his first meeting, this is another famous scene in this movie when Will sort of badgers Sean, Robin Williams' character, about his dead wife, like when he sees it and he like notices that it's a pain point, notices that it's like an open wound, and then he just like goes for it. And then Sean chokes him, like slams him up against the wall and is like, "You're just a little shit, you don't know."
Their
anything."
first meeting.
And it's supposed to be like this, and we get a little foreshadowing of like he benches 285 or whatever, like he's strong and this kid thinks he's tough. But and it's an interesting thing because it's like, I don't know that the movie is condoning it per se, because they're just saying like this guy speaks the same language as this kid because they're both from South Boston. Like, but it's a little bit more glorified than I think a modern movie would make it. Does that make sense?
I would agree 100%. Yeah, it's not necessarily, it's trying to explain like, oh, he's pushed Robin to the edge.
Right.
Look how far he's pushed him just like immediately.
Yeah.
But it also is like, this is literally your job.
Yeah.
You seem to have immediately resorted to violence instantaneously. And I think there is a little bit of like, men being men, this is how men, talk to each other. This is how you, sort of settle these things. And there is a little bit like, ugh, bro, no thank you.
Yeah.
Which is usually how I settle fights. When I say, bro, no thank you.
Please.
Absolutely not. Bruh, no.
First of all,
no.
Before we even get into this, I have to clean my glasses.
Because I can barely see you.
I can barely see your beautiful face. When then later, so like, when Will kind of has the big breakup with, I keep calling her Skylar. And it's showing like how raw, like Will's experience. He's not really like worked through the things he needs to work through, with his abuse as a kid, and like fairly recently, because it seems like this, like he was being beaten like as of just a few years ago, like before he got out of foster home. And he reacts violently. He like pushes her, and then he doesn't like hit her, but he hits the wall next to her. And like she, yeah, it's tough because like it's obvious that he has shit to work through, but also it's a very like 22-year or however old she's supposed to be, like thing to then be like, what can I do to help you? And she
immediately tells him that she loves him.
Yeah.
After he pushed her against the door and then punched the wall beside her.
When it's like, I think there's a lot of things the movie does well. And the complicatedness of that, I think it does kind of well. But, at some point, if she were a more mature person, or not that this is kind of a little, I don't mean to victim blame, but like, she would be like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, you maybe in 5 years, when you've had time to like work through all this awful shit you've been through that is not your fault, like, then we'll talk. But like, I don't know. It's just, it could be, I can imagine be triggering to someone who's like been in an abusive relationship like that. And also it's somewhat of an accurate depiction too. So like,
yeah,
it belongs in the problematic corner, but it's like a lot of it. It's like,
I feel like I'm not trying to forgive this movie, but I'm also so familiar of the milieu of the mid 90s and how they depict these sort of situations. And I feel like him pushing her was the mid 90s equivalent of like, well, he didn't hit her.
Right. Yeah.
So he's still a good guy. It's really, you have to wait until he hits her. And that's when, I'm like, no. And now seeing it now, I'm like, no, fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got to work. He may be a good guy and he's smart and he can work through this stuff, but you don't need to be a part of this, Skylar.
Right. Sky. I call her Sky.
Yeah, that scene was, I didn't like that because she immediately became, I feel like for me, that moment was, I love her character. She's my favorite character in this movie. Minnie Driver is a charm bomb.
Yes.
And And that is like a turning point for her character that I really hated.
Yeah.
In that she just sort of becomes a simpering, whimpering mess after that.
Yeah.
And we only see her during that scene and then a subsequent scene when he calls her and she's just on the phone holding back her tears. And it's a great performance from Minnie Driver, but she's sort of sitting there, trying to sound straight on the phone while we can obviously see from her face that she's like barely keeping it together. And the minute he hangs up on her after she says, "I love you," and he says, "Well, I'll see you," or whatever. Yeah. She breaks down. Great performance, but it's again like now everything I loved about this character is gone, and she's just like, "Why won't he love me? This really broken man. I can fix him." Yeah. And then we don't even get to see her again after that. She goes to California. We see her in sort of a montage scene where she's getting on the plane and goes to California, and then we never see her again.
We see her buying chocolates in Oakland on her with some friends, and then visiting the Golden Gate Bridge. I think.
I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, and then we see her getting some Sausalito cookies.
Right, and then she goes to a Giants game and she catches a foul ball. It's great. Sausalito cookies, get fucked.
This is the only place you can get them is in Sausalito.
Right, that's true. Where else could these... And DJ, I can't tell you the last time I had to go to Milan just to pick up those fucking cookies.
Just eating rice-a-roni.
A waste of my fucking time eating rice-a-roni.
I mean, where else is she supposed to get her sourdough starter?
It's a San Francisco treat. It's also the only place you can get a Mission-style burrito. You have to go
That's it.
to fucking San Francisco.
Name one other place you can get a burrito.
Also, remember when she wanted to make beef Wellington? She had to go to the Tenderloin just to pick up the meat for the fucking Wellington. I'm sorry. I just feel like I'm done with this regional food stuff.
Far.
I apologize, everyone.
Let's get out of the corner, I think.
Yes. I will allow us to
one semi-trans joke, which is kind of more in the lines of just Sean making a joke as he says
that he's going to win the lottery and pay for a bartender.
Yeah, but it'll pay for your sex change operation. Yeah. Problematic.
Yeah. Well, Tyler did. He immediately rushed to the defense of a transphobic joke. Classic Tyler.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just kidding. But he was like, he said it supportively. He's going to pay for
That's a good point.
operation.
That's a good point. Now, I'm sorry for calling Tyler the new Richard Dawkins.
Okay.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
Now, y'all.
Dance your way out. Thanks once again.
It's like that elevator in Thoroughly Modern Millie, a reference I know you won't get. But someone will one day. Me, when listening to the episode 10 years from now.
Thanks once again to Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon for that theme music. It kills me every time. I love it. You know what? I have a question.
Yeah, yes, and I will help.
This barely makes it out of the problematic corner.
Oh, wow.
It really only bothers me. Has anyone ever really written a math problem on a window or a mirror? Or is that just movies so that you can see what they're doing?
So you can see their face while they're doing it. Well, you can see them thinking about it.
I understand a chalkboard with a teacher. That's real. I've seen that.
People have written on chalkboards before in a classroom setting. That one you can buy.
But I'm thinking of
Beautiful Mind. Doesn't Beautiful Mind do it?
Code in Social Network, writing on the window.
Poached egg work, yeah.
Poached egg work.
Remember that game?
We used to. I'm sorry if we've told this story before, but we used to have imaginary hypothetical Oscar themed food at an Oscar party. We would have the actual Oscar party, but we were way too lazy to make all this themed food. But we would come up with foods based on the best pictures, and was that my suspicion? It sounds stupid enough to be.
Well, I think what we had done, we usually do the best picture noms, and I think whatever it was that year, we could figure it out, but we were just stuck on the Social Network. We could not figure it out, and then I think you came up with.
It sounds like me.
The poached egg work.
We needed something, and it's got to be edible.
You know, and what better party food is there than a poached egg?
Just a poached egg.
Here you go. Here's a wet egg in your hand. That's not my favorite. I think the next year, this one is legitimately good, and I think you also came up with this one. The King's Peach Cobbler.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good.
That's a good one.
I feel like I can't have been the only one that came up with that. It's just like,
well, once you unlock that peach thing, it opens up a lot of options.
What would you do for Goodwill Hunting? Think about that. Goodwill Bunt Cake?
Goodwill Bunt Cake. Yes, but you have to purchase the bunt pan at Goodwill.
Oh, those
are the rules.
Them's the rules. Are there math problems? Like unsolvable math problems? I feel like there are. I read a little bit after, like, they consulted, because they were originally going to have to be a physicist or something, or like really good at physics. Like, if he threw something up, it would come right back down. No, but like, he would be really good.
He's really good at
that. Physics problems. And then a physicist was like, we don't have things like this. You want math. You should talk to a mathematician. And then they did. I don't know how like, I didn't really follow that thread because it sounded really boring and over my head.
Yeah, I feel like there are unsolved math problems, but I'm always, because I don't have the basic language to talk about math, I'm always like, how do you get the problem though?
Yeah. Well, I was listening to someone
Maybe that's a stupid question, but I'm like, how do you end up with this equation and you don't know the answer to it?
I was listening to something on AI, like an AI thing. They were like, oh, it solved this completely unsolvable problem. And I was like, I think like you, I'm like, I wouldn't know if you gave me the correct answer to this, but how would you know if it was correct, if it's unsolved? They're like, it would take a real computer or a normal computer, a non-AI self-learning computer, like, I don't know, 10 billion years to solve this. And this solved it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you extrapolate that information? I don't understand. But I do think, I believe you, because I have so little knowledge.
Mathematicians, please. In this house, we believe mathematicians.
This is how things happen, where a virologist is like, look, I need you to stay inside because this, even though, you know, there's a good chance you're going to get other people sick. And then people are like, I don't understand.
Right, well, they do.
So I'm gonna trust the mathematicians when they say, you know, this is some sort of problem. But I definitely don't understand, and I don't understand like what the ultimate result of him solving this problem is, other than impressing people and getting a field.
In my head, though, it was an unsolvable problem in my memory, and then in the movie, Stellan Skarsgård is like, I solved it, but it took us 2 years to do it.
Yeah. And he's expecting that,
and we didn't have any mirrors to write it on.
By the end of we had zero.
That's why
mirrors.
It took so long.
Well, and we had all that bad luck from all the broken mirrors while we were trying to solve. We were pushing too hard.
It's hard to get like a good angle on a mirror.
Do you use like a grease pencil only if you're writing on a window? Because like
you can use a
dry erase.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But you shouldn't use a Sharpie. It's just you're not gonna be able to get that off.
But if you do, you can take a dry erase marker, draw over the Sharpie mark, and then take an eraser. It comes right off.
That, which I have heard, sounds like a fucking made up math problem to me. There's no way.
I haven't seen it on a window, but I have seen it on a dry erase marker when I was in a meeting and someone started writing on the whiteboard and someone was like, that is a Sharpie.
I know.
And there was like a hush of panic. Like we had we had broken a wizard's spell or something. And someone was like, wait, I know exactly what to do.
I saw this
just
on
draw
TikTok.
over
Give
it.
me a moment.
And they drew over it with a dry erase marker. And I was just like you, my friend. I was just like you. I was like, Tony, you're making an ass out of yourself. Sit down. And then he erased it and it was perfectly fine. I was like, wow.
I know that it's true because I've seen it also. Lauren showed me that actually. But it's like, no, you're a witch. Like, I still don't understand how that's
because if I just cloak you in dry erase marks, now all of a sudden the eraser's like, oh no, I thought I couldn't get it, but I can't actually get it.
That's
Watch
like,
this.
If I like chip the paint in my car and then I like chip it more, That's like, I don't know.
How is that like that?
I don't know. I was trying to find a good analogy and I couldn't come up with one. I was going to talk about.
I like that you immediately folded.
Yeah,
I don't know. I really was hoping you would ask no follow-up questions.
I'm not gonna stand behind that one. One move that I really liked right after he solved the problem is that he has the Batman move where Lambo comes around the corner and he's just poof gone in a way that would be physically impossible without, especially like you could hear shoes squeaking if he was like.
Yeah, he's just like standing behind one of the columns and he just banked on Lambo being like, I don't want to go keep looking. But also he's a janitor, so he knows all the ins and outs of
That's true.
Of that building.
He knows all the back ways.
And some of those doors say custodial staff only. So Lambo can't even go in there.
Can't even go in there.
Rules are rules. I did like, there is a lot of class that permeates this entire movie. And I did like this scene because after Matt Damon gets caught will hunting, gets caught, he quits his job. He stops coming in.
Right.
Because he pushes people away.
Yeah.
And Lambo goes to the fields and like custodial staff guys who immediately are like very dismissive of him. He's like, I'm Professor Lambo. And the guy who's like running the place is like, and this is Professor Hayes. Yeah. What do you want? Like, they're so mean. They're like on 8 the minute Lambo walks in. They're so mean to him. And he's just like, I just need to get the name of a guy who works in my building. And there was this moment where it's like, well, what building are you in? And he looks to Tom, the long-suffering assistant, TA.
The jealous TA. I want to talk about him.
Who's like, we're in building 2. And I'm like, it's such a professor thing to not even know the building he's in.
And he's like, my building. And he's like, what? He like immediately
what the fuck
off.
Are you talking about? Yeah. It was a really good, just scene in and of itself. I really enjoyed that scene with the custodial staff.
Just like when he comes and he like knocks on the car or something. He like knocks on a whatever it is, a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I just really like that. I do want to talk about the jealous TA for a second.
Tom.
What's his fucking deal?
Well, first off, I had a whole queer reading on him. He was giving me like spurned queer lover vibes.
You're still a genius, he said to one of the other guys.
So weird. But yeah, he we're introduced to him fairly early where Lambo is like, if you have any questions, and it seems like he's about to offer up his assistance, he's like, tell him I'm sure we'll have the answers, and just walks out of his class. Like, he lectures and then he puts the TA in. We didn't really have TAs at my college, so I'm not familiar with this system. Yeah. Did you have TAs at?
We had, no, in college.
Because we didn't have a grad program, so there's not a lot of like.
I don't think so. I know we had like
kids with degrees waiting in the wings to like grade papers and answer questions.
I remember that more in like elementary school or middle school where there were like student teachers. Yeah. They like came in, they were like, this was their semester where they got to sit in or whatever.
Oh, I do vaguely remember having student teachers. And being like, what the fuck's their do? But no, in like elementary school.
Right.
But they wouldn't come and like hand out our grades or grade our exams or anything.
I wanted to go back to the maintenance guys for a second because I forgot that it reminded me of a story. So
I forgot that they did not remind me of a story, in fact.
Yeah.
In a timely fashion.
They did when I took notes, but then I forgot just now, but I want to say it because it was very interesting. So we live in Nashville and there's Vanderbilt University.
Please don't dox me. Go ahead.
Damon lives at 411.
You couldn't think of anything but my actual address, could you?
I couldn't even think of
You're like, how do I improvise a fake address when all I can think of is his actual address?
I can only think of either your address or a past address, which is just as bad because I can still look you up. This is the problem when I only know your address and our past addresses. Anyway, I went out for a run in my neighborhood and I found on the ground by an intersection a football playbook from a Vandy student, like a college football. It was like, oh, this fell out of someone's car, or they were like their car was broken into and or whatever. And so it had information on it.
Did it have the X's and O's and like the curved
It was a
arrows?
playbook.
They're like, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, it was like a football playbook. And if I had been on an opposing team, they would have really suffered because I don't know.
Yeah, the Vanderbilt Commodores would be ruined this season.
But it had information like that. I don't know if it was. I think it was just the office, like the athletic office number, because it wasn't the student. And I think I found the kid on Instagram too, like, and just like message him like, "Hey, I have your book," but then like, enough time went by, like that I was like, I don't know if he's going to see this because it goes to that like we're not friends, no mutual friend. Weirdly, no college student at Vanderbilt and I have mutual friends, and so I called the athletic office to be like, "Hey, I found this," and it was like it must have been a coach or something because he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I found so and so's playbook. I live in this neighborhood, and I found it." And he's like, "All right, bring it by." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you can bring it by my office." And I'm like, "No, I don't live on campus. I live in a neighborhood." And he was like, he was so confused as to why I wouldn't just like drop everything and bring this. And I was like, "We're not doing this. I'm not running a book.
We're not doing a handoff, Gregory."
But it reminded me of Lambeau's attitude towards this. Like, you live to serve my endeavors. And I have an impossible math problem that one of your people has solved. Why are you not helping me with like, immediately?
Why aren't you just as invested as I am in this?
All of my special, the fumble rooskies in there, they could find out about it. You got to get that to me stat. Post haste, my good man. Now, if he had said post haste, my good man, I might have done it because that's.
And you could hear the pipe clattering around in his mouth.
Yeah.
And you could hear the I can't remember his name now. The guy who has the hats. Dallas Cowboys coach from the 60s.
Oh, we're talking about Tom Landry?
Tom Landry. Yeah. A name I know because of Homer Simpson exclusively.
Did you notice? Let me ask you a question. Did you notice?
First off, I did notice, but go ahead.
Did you notice anything about just the music in general in this movie? Tell me what your observations were.
Elliott Smith heavy. Especially the latter half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the music, the Danny Elfman like actual score, charges were dropped. It did remind me of something, but now I'm trying to remember the score. It sounded very treacly. It didn't sound very Danny Elfman-y, which, thinking back on my Simpsons expertise, and thus my Tom Landry expertise.
How do you like them apples?
It wasn't very, bouncy and sort of cartoony and like oddly threatening like Danny Elfman's usual music is. But what are you trying to get me to?
You're pretty much there. So like the first half of the movie, and I don't know exactly at what point it happens, but it's very score heavy, and his score is very heavy handed. I generally like Danny Elfman, but I think this is not his bag. Like kind of earnest, like soaring, kind of more orchestral, sort of more of a John Williams. No, John Williams is more epic, but like more like, I don't know.
I was thinking of the Forrest Gump theme, honestly. That's what keeps playing in my...
Yeah. Is that Silvestri? Who did that?
Yeah, Silvestri, because he and Zemeckis are chained at the hip.
I think, Silvestri can maybe do the earnest a little bit more, although that can be very heavy-handed too.
I mean, that's also very odd for Silvestri, because Silvestri is like... I remember him in, like, Roger Rabbit. Like, he was also very cartoony. And the Forrest Gump theme is, I think I always feel like, is like if someone made me score like an Oscar bait movie, I'm like, I don't know, Strings, I want to say.
Yeah, it seems very like, I remember when his name came up on the screen, because I didn't realize he scored this. I first went, oh God, we got to talk about the allegations. And then
I said, charges were dropped. She recanted her claims.
Then secondly, I thought, oh, good, because I really like his work, but I think maybe subtlety is not. You need something a little bit more subtle, because it was also like pretty, and the mixing is not his fault, but it was a little bit over mixed, I think. But then the second half, they were like, you know what, Danny, you done good. Why don't you head to the locker room? we're gonna bring Elliott Smith out, and
he's gonna do
take
all
us
these
out.
songs.
He's gonna play us out. He's gonna play like 6 full fucking songs, which are good. Like, it became Garden State all of a sudden at the end, and it was good, but it was very like confusing to me musically, and I had not noticed that before. I was just like,
it became like a soundtrack movie, but like halfway through.
Yeah.
Because
and I thought it was a better fit, honestly. I think they could have just
stuff worked.
I think they could have, I mean, even if they, maybe one other artist they could have worked in there, but like, I think it would have fit if they had done that throughout instead of sort of just like, I don't know if something happened, like maybe Danny got fired at some point.
Danny got sick, and we had to just sort of we had an Elliott Smith CD lying around.
It's like when I went to see Timely, I went to see Wicked when it toured. The lady who played Elphaba, the star of the show,
yes.
did the first half,
the green one, yes,
and then at intermission, they're like, the part of Elphaba will now be played by someone else.
Oh man, the rig that was holding her up during Defying Gravity must have broken or something.
I was like, did she blow her voice or something? And it was like, it didn't even register until the person comes out in like green makeup. And I did not have like the closest seats, and it was just like the voice was just different enough, and she looked just different enough that I'm like, oh, is that what he said? I heard some announcement.
Right, because they typically, do they say like Elphaba will be played by, or do they just say this woman will now be replaced with this woman? Maybe they do say
no.
Elphaba.
They well, I actually didn't clearly hear what he said, but I think they said the character. Usually that's at like for the show because someone's sick or whatever.
Right, usually you get like a slip in your thing if you're at TPAC, like we would have been.
Yeah.
Or sometimes there'll be an announcement on the thing. But yeah, that is weird. The act break is what did her in.
That's what happened to Elfman. They're like,
bad oysters.
The film will now be scored by the music of Elliott Smith. And we're all like, oh, okay.
All right.
Actually, you know what? This is better. Good job.
Fine. It seems of the moment. I want to talk about, first off, I know he's not supposed to be good at the first half.
Right.
But he is almost insufferable. When he
Will, you mean?
Yes, yeah. Will, our titular good.
Mm-hmm.
He Minnie Driver, who again I want to reiterate is my favorite. She is my Catherine O'Hara nominee for this.
Hook, dunk.
Very I could play for the NBA because I'm tall and I like wearing shorts. Charm bomb the whole time. I was like, let me date her if you don't want to hang out with her. She's great, and there's this very cute scene when he first encounters her. He has that repartee with that dick.
Wallops that guy with knowledge. He's
absolutely wicked smart. And then later she comes down and she's like, well, you blew it, because I stayed at the other end of the bar waiting for you to come back and talk to me, and now I'm tired and I'm going home.
Yeah.
And it's very charming, but she gives him her number, and she's like, maybe we can get coffee sometime. And then I just wanted to like deck him in the face. He's like, or we could get together and eat caramels. And she's like, what? And he's like, when you think about it, it's just as arbitrary as drinking coffee. And I'm like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
No one likes whoever told you this is charming was wrong, and you need to stop talking.
I actually found that in a insufferable way charming because he's a 20-year-old. I think that was like, to me,
it's realistic.
It was like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, which we find, when he talks to Sean, he's like, I know. And Sean's like, yeah, whatever, you fucking kid, which I really liked because but yeah, it's really dumb. The line is dumb, and
it is very
dumb and really, I could
exhausting.
Absolutely see 20-year-old. I'm not, that's something insufferable that I would have said. Not that particular thing, but something like that. Yeah.
The reason it hurts me so much.
Yes.
Is that I could see myself saying that to a guy.
And him.
Right. I see myself in you, Will Hunting.
So is that a gay thing?
This is the first... So when you're Will Hunting, you want to go down to the docks. So this is the first time I noticed that I've always remembered this intellectual bar fight with this Michael Bolton haircut guy.
I just put together, is this a play on whale hunting? Sorry. There's good whale hunting in Boston.
There's bad whale hunting and then there's good whale hunting. Ahab, bad whale hunting. No, we don't like that.
Do not.
Good whale hunting is when you hunt down whales to near extinction for cosmetics.
Yeah. Get the blubber. Anyway, sorry.
But he has this, this guy is like trying to dress down Ben Affleck in front of Minnie Driver
Chucky.
and her friend, Chucky. And he's doing it by, because Ben Affleck's claiming to go to school at Harvard. And the guy's like, I'm going to embarrass him.
Yeah.
And not just like, you're lying, you're full of shit, but like just doing it in a real dick way.
Yeah. Damon's getting over the flu. So sorry.
Yeah. So sometimes I have to pause my mic to hack. But then Will Hunting comes in and, he's like, I'm going to interrupt you right now and just like call you out exactly for the books you are citing.
Yeah. On the pages.
The pages and call you out that you don't have any interesting ideas of your own. And this is the first time watching it that I realized that he recognizes that because that's literally what he does.
Yes.
He has no lived experience.
Yes.
That is also what he does. And later on, Robin Williams calls him out on it in a very effective scene.
Yes.
But that was the first time that went by me as a Ute, but
that's a good parallel. Like,
very nice.
Do you also see yourself in Ernest Robin Williams?
Never. I'm trying to think about it. Robin Williams is a great comic actor. He seems like a good guy. He liked Legend of Zelda, like I do, so that's another point for him.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what annoys me about Ernest Robin Williams. Is that he's always doing the broken down voice. He's always doing that I'm about to cry voice. And once you hear someone say 4 or 5 sentences in the broken voice, I'm like, either cry or pick a new voice, please, because it's driving me fucking nuts.
It's like when your car won't quite shift either down or up. Like, you're stuck in between.
Just shift. I'll slow down. I can't keep hearing this sound.
I wanna hate it because it's kind of Oscar baity is the term you used before, and I think that this movie definitely is successfully. But that speech he gives in the park, god damn it, if it doesn't get me, it's real good. It's really long. He does it very, very well. It's very effective. It's very good character beat for both him and Will. And I mean, Matt Damon doesn't really have much to do except for sort of react in that moment, but they both do a great job. And he just like,
well, actually, it's a long extended cut just on Robin. Very few cutbacks to Matt Damon. It's really just a long piece on Robin.
And he knocks it out of the park. It's great.
He does knock it out of the park. I think because I was so ready for someone to pants this jackass that we've been following around for the entire movie that I appreciated it. I will say, I mean, I think it depends on the material that Ernest Robin Williams, ERW, is dealing with. A Patch Adams, no thank you. This is not what I ordered. This,
you said you want to do that movie next? Is that what you said?
No, I did not say that. I would die. It would be like eating too much salt. It would just, I would just be left with a withered husk at the end of the thing.
Moderation is important with Ernest Robin Williams. I've always said that.
But yeah, that is a good speech. I do like that speech.
It might be my Sally Field single scene award because it's just. Do you have a counterpoint?
I do have a counterpoint. DJ, Against My Will.
Oh.
The Ben Affleck scene.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite. When he allegedly, your situation for you would be concurrently improved if I had $200 right now.
No, not that scene. No, that scene is terrible. And I was like, I don't know what we're talking about.
It's completely out of the blue.
It's deranged.
But I kind of like it. But I know what you're saying. Please continue.
Yes, the scene when, now Matt Damon, hunting Will Good, is working construction with Ben Affleck. And he's talking about how he's screwed up every opportunity he's had in every vein of his life, romantic, academic, and career-wise. And he's talking to Ben Affleck like, we're going to be hanging out together for 50 years and we're going to have our kids together. That's not what he says. That's what I imagined. And Ben Affleck is like, no offense, you're my best friend, but if you're still here in 50 years, I'm going to be fucking mad at you because you've been given a winning lottery ticket.
Yeah.
And you're not taking it. You're just sitting on it. Every guy here would kill for what you have, and you are wasting it. And I knew it was coming. I think you even parried it in the introduction to this fucking episode, and it still got me. Why did it get me? That is what I thought about for a minute. And I think what it is that Chucky, for the most part, even though he is a secondary character and a strong secondary character, it shows that he is much more observant than you thought he was.
Yeah.
For the entire movie.
Yeah.
He seems like a mensch who maybe sometimes says the R word a little bit too much for my liking, and maybe gets into more bar fights than I ever have in my entire lifetimes. But he's a good friend with Will, and he's loyal to Will, and he loves Will, and they're like the real gruesome twosome of that Southie pack.
Yeah.
But he's never said an ill word to Will, or said anything about how Will's different, or treated him any different. But in that moment you realize, like, no, I've been watching all of this, and I know what's going on, and I know you fucked up, and I'm here to tell you that you should get out of here, and you should, make something of yourself.
I think
it's a really revelatory moment for his character.
Yeah, I think it's not like the conversation around privilege didn't exist in 1997, but I think it's, really had a heyday since then.
Yes. I bought stock in privilege real early on, and let me tell you, I'm living it up.
And obviously, like, this is a great example of it, because privilege isn't just you had a completely problem-free upbringing, which obviously Will didn't, but he has a tremendous skill set, like natural talent and opportunity, and the awareness of it, and taking advantage of those opportunities doesn't just mean like, oh, I deserve this or anything. It's just mean you have this, and you sort of not taking that opportunity or blowing that opportunity is also kind of like it's almost just as bad as not having. Yeah, it's a slap in the face to people who weren't presented with those things. And I think it's a really interesting conversation. I think it's a really because what does privilege mean? You know what I mean? Like, and it can be so many different things,
right?
And it's not just advantages; it's like talent that you might have. And you think of someone who grows up in a rough neighborhood who's really good at sports and get this opportunity to get a scholarship and like something like that, where it's like they feel like you almost owe it to your community to do something with it. And I think, I don't know, it was a good
I also
touch.
think when some people are scared, again, I see myself in Will, when people are scared of, making a change in their life, sometimes they sort of wrap themselves up in this self-righteous, oh, no, I'm a man of the people, and that's why I can't pursue this elite opportunity because I'm just like you. I just like busting walls here in Southie. And just fucking go be smart somewhere. Go use your talents that you obviously want to, expound upon. But him wrapping himself up in this oh no, I'm a real workers guy. I think he is.
Yeah.
And I think it's not because that's the only job you can have to be, real. It's just because he's scared to, do anything different.
I think both things are used as a defense mechanism, right? And of course, because just because you come from working class and don't have these opportunities doesn't mean you're a nice person either. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or so it's kind of both. I just want to point out that fourth friend is Rip from Yellowstone, and I just realized that this watch through. The redheaded guy?
Yeah, the other guy.
The other guy.
The guy who rounds out you mean Cole Hauser?
Yeah.
Or is that
Rip.
is his name Rip?
He
plays
Have you seen
Rip?
Yellowstone?
No, because I'm not a 70-year-old Trump
Damon,
voter.
I can't recommend it less. It's terrible. But
my mom watches it, and
I know,
and I feel like I went to sleep one night, and then there's 4 Yellowstone spinoffs. And I'm like, what's going on?
I know.
And then Trump wins the election. I'm like, I think I kind of know what's going on.
I know what's happening. I think that because you love terrible things, you might actually enjoy it.
Ooh.
Because
I don't
it
like
is
soapy things.
Yeah, okay, then maybe not. it does have a lot of fighting though. So
puts me at ease. I hate fighting. Can I just? I know this is
quote
like
Gandhi. What was he talking about?
I'm just reminded. I hate fighting. It's so chaotic. Have you ever been in a room where an actual fight breaks out?
Terrifying.
It's never like in a movie. It's just a bunch of guys sort of like hugging at each other's waist and just pushing each other into pool tables. And I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like being here. Why do we put this in so many movies?
Have you ever been in a fight?
Once.
Oh, yeah, I know the story.
With a classmate. Their name was Amy McNabb. She challenged me to a fight. Why? Because she just wanted to fight me. I think she was like, I think you'd be fun to fight. We were theoretically friends. Friends, Jerry. She wanted to fight me. And the story just keeps getting better because we had like every quarter or something in school, we had something called field day where basically it was like, it's middle school. You guys miss recess. Here you go.
Get out there.
And so we would go, and she wanted to fight me on field day. And I told my mom and dad, I'm like, I know who will put a stop to this. My parents. And I told them, hey, Amy McNabb wants to fight me. And they were like, fight her, son. And I was like, I don't know what to do now. Thank you. And dad's like, I can give you some pointers. I'm like, I'm not fighting this woman. And we had another
some pointers. Make sure to jab this child in the face.
Right. This sixth grader who just wants to fight you to fight you. And so we had a mutual friend whose name I can't remember now. And she also was like, Amy, don't fight. He doesn't want to fight you. Don't you see him with his noodle arms and his giant egg head with already receding hairline? He doesn't want to fight you.
I think we all know that a cardigan over top of a collared shirt is like universal for do not fight me.
Right. And not like the pufferfish way where I'm going to blow up. No, this is just, please don't fight me. So we go to the fight. And again, because I've only schooled in fights in movies, I didn't realize how much pushing is involved in fighting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It always with the pushing. And she's like, why aren't you pushing me back? And I'm like, because I don't want to do this. I don't know how to express it enough. And then luckily our mutual friend, she came, and it was very much like a movie where she was like, Amy, no, stop. He doesn't want to fight you. And then she leaves. The pushing continues. And I'm like, I don't know how to push back. I don't know what to do. And then luckily our mutual friend got a very gangly girls basketball player who had the side buzz.
Oh, yeah.
Where she pulled up the ponytail and then did the side buzz. Her name was Nancy. Couldn't have been a better name for what I imagine was one of our future lesbians of America. She came. She was like, in my memory, 9 feet tall. It was like Goliath. Like every stride was like 6 feet. Like, and she sort of pushed Amy down with one fell stroke, turned to me, one of the first lesbians in my life, to take me under her wing. And she goes, if she gives you any trouble, you let me know. And I said, thank you, Nancy. And I enjoyed the rest of my field day.
Fucking Nancy coming in.
Fucking Nancy. Let's hear it for Nancy.
Yeah. Wow. I was just going to say, I haven't been in a fight since like 7th grade, but like, I think being around a fight is very chaotic. Being in the fight is even more chaotic.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't remember what happened, just that, I didn't win.
What was your fight?
The last fight I ever got in was a kid named Seth, who was he was much bigger than me. I mean, much bigger. He was bigger than me, certainly stronger than me. And he was just kind of being a little bit of a bully to me. And he like, I can't remember if he was like slapping me in the face or something, not like hard, but just like kind of being like, he won't do anything. Like, and he like said that to somebody, like he won't do anything. And then just red. I remember I was very mad.
Like
saw
Popeye.
Red. And I was like, except for no strength. And
your arms turn into helicopter blades?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Picture me now, same mass, but a foot shorter.
Aww.
So just sort of a sphere. And I mean, I always had like kind of like a strong leg, so maybe like a Humpty Dumpty situation.
Mm-hmm. Humpty Dumpty, famous for his strong legs.
Potato on forks, kind of vibe. And I just like, I don't know what I did, but I like went at him, and then I was just on the ground, and he had me pinned down. So that's most of the fights is just like some sort of wild movement, and then me on the ground.
They're like always so chaotic.
Yeah.
And the only ones I've witnessed like have been like in sports bars or something, and it just breaks out. It's out of nowhere. It's always willy-nilly, and it's so chaotic. It's just like a swarm of bees got into the bar, and then everyone's just like frozen. And then, eventually the guys go outside. You hear them fighting and slapping outside. It's never, I don't like, no, thank you. Damon, anti-fights.
I gotta say, I think we got out of fighting at the right age, too. I mean, not, like, obviously.
Yeah, otherwise we'd be touring, doing boxing.
Yeah.
Doing welterweight boxing, us
Getting
two.
Concussed.
I'd have to wear those sports glasses. No thanks.
It gets so much more, punchy and serious after age 13. I mean, plenty of people have gotten majorly hurt or killed in fights younger than that, but I feel like once you hit the like prime teen years, then there's like, it's
once
nasty.
Puberty gets involved, absolutely
like
not.
Real punching. It was always just shoving and like throwing to the ground, not real punching. Anyway, would you like to move to a verdict?
Hold on, I want to make sure that I've got everything here. Charm bomb. Oh, movie pet peeve.
Yes.
Second only to, what do you have? I'll have a beer. Conk. And I'm like, nope, not how any bar has ever worked. At least Ben Affleck in this movie says, give me some of your finest lager. I'm like, at least he said a specific type of beer. We're getting somewhere. So Matt Damon, after not calling Minnie Driver, just appears at her dorm room. Pink
not
flag.
Great.
Pink flag, I would say.
Yeah, not great.
He apologizes sort of for not calling, and he leaves. Well, he's about to leave, and he's like, maybe we can go out sometime? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, maybe tomorrow? And she's like, yeah. And he leaves. And I'm like,
time, place.
Should I meet you here? Should I just wait until dusk? Like, what am I supposed to do? It's the next question after the day is set. Then you want to set up the time. What time? What are we doing? Should I eat beforehand, or are we eating together?
I need to know.
Christ. And it's not like I'll give you a pass if it's like traveling through space. I don't know how it works. If you leave out some details, that's fine. Asking someone to meet you somewhere at a rendezvous point, you've got to set up times and dates.
You know, the main thing, my least favorite movie trope is that everyone meets to go to dinner at 8. What are you, French? What time are you actually eating? 9:30?
I'll pick you up at 10 at night, to quote Liz Lemon.
All right, let's go to our verdict.
Yeah.
Damon, would you please give me your verdict?
I will. I was really raring to fight against this movie and not like it. We didn't even really touch about the therapy thing, but it's not your fault, which is, I did actually laugh out loud because you and our mutual friend LT have both parodied "It's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault" to the point that it is absurd.
Yeah.
And it's already absurd, kind of. And that's another movie trope of like, well, you had one breakthrough in therapy, your therapy is now over, and your problems are solved. Please go out into the world and form new relationships. So that is a little ludicrous. It's not the only sinner. That is a very common trope in movies that deal with therapy, but still.
Then you want to loudly discuss the patient with the professor that works for them.
With the professor that is somehow involved in jurisprudence for some reason. And so there's that, and all the other problematic reasons, therapists doing chokeholds.
Not great. Yep.
Big galoots, having to follow around these big galoots in Southie. But this movie did wear me down, and it did charm me at the end. It is a little Oscar baity. I can't give it a 10 out of 10 and say that there are no hesitation on my part, but it's good. It does feel a little film school, like we workshopped this vibes to it, but
yeah.
It is amazing how insufferable Will Hunting, which was the original title, by the way, Insufferable Will Hunting.
The Insufferable.
And they're like, what if we give away the spoiler a little bit and show that he actually becomes good eventually? But yes, Mini Driver, who I would call Mini Charming almost, is my Catherine O'Hara.
Yes.
Ben Affleck's speech at the end. Even though I feel like I can see the cogs working, I'm like, go ahead, run over me speech. It's fine. I will allow it. I also enjoyed that. Yeah. I mean, it's a little dated. It's a little clunky at times, but overall, I think your inner child is not an idiot. That's the phrase we say here.
Yeah. I agree with you. Your inner child is not an idiot. There's plenty to complain about in this movie. And like you said, you can see the seams a little bit more, especially more now, like nearly 30 years hence.
Especially as we get older and we're like, I'm much more like Robin Williams and would love to put you in a chokehold.
Yeah. There's some really good lines in this. The obvious ones that are like, from the trailer, but also like, you suspect. I really like that. I like Morgan wanted to get you a T-Pass when they were talking about getting him a car. I really like that. Plenty of problematic elements. Will as a character, I do think is compelling, really interesting. Mini Driver, absolutely. Enthusiastic second for Catherine O'Hara Memorial MVP Award. I guess I'll second the Ben Affleck scene. It's not my favorite.
Give it to the job interview scene.
I think that's, I just find that funny. And there wasn't a lot of laugh out loud moments. And I did laugh out loud, even though it feels like it's from another movie a little bit. I did like it.
It is. The problem I have with that scene in retrospect is that it works against Ben Affleck's speech, which is like, you're helping him not advance by going to this thing. Yeah,
it's a little bit of like a kind of undercuts that later if you think about it too much, where it's like, you are this exact same job that you're talking about that he
you embarrassed him and sullied his name at this job interview.
Yeah. But I'll give it to you. I like this movie. I don't think I want to, go run and watch it again. But it's good. And I like the Elliott Smith songs. He's a good little songwriter.
Elliott Smith, pro. I am surprised you have not brought up one thing that I expected you, and I just realized we haven't talked about at all.
What?
Young Matt Damon and young Ben Affleck in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Cat sounds.
Okay.
Hubba hubba.
Okay.
Auga auga. For both of them.
All right.
Matt Damon especially. He's got that sort of beefy, dumb face.
You like the wayfish. Wayfish Matt Damon.
Wayfish? I mean, he's not as... He's wayfish compared to now Matt Damon.
Yeah.
But
now he's
he's got some meat on his bones.
To quote a man on the inside, he looks like a bullet. They were talking about Channing Tatum, but I like that.
I also, Ben Affleck, even though still with his original teeth, beautiful cheekbones, good looking man.
I feel like the original teeth, are like, I mean, he just looks like a person.
Absolutely. I mean, for some reason in my brain,
smile.
They're tiny little teeth, but they're just normal people teeth. Both of them handsome. Both could take me to Kelly's for a double cheeseburger any day.
I know this was like kind of the conventional wisdom was, Ben Affleck was kind of like the dumb friend, like running, like they wrote this together, and then Matt Damon kind of became more of a big movie star. It's not the same, like we talked about this in the intro, like it's not as much anymore. Matt Damon or Ben Affleck has had more directorial success and stuff like that too. So, but like, I do think you point out, like, it's a very good performance from Ben Affleck as well, like in a rich character, even though it's kind of a dumbass,
Yeah, I mean, there is the theory that they cannot be up together. Either Matt Damon's up or Ben Affleck's up, but they cannot be up together. This was the last time they were up together.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's been like, well, Ben Affleck's doing Gigli and Jersey Girl, but Matt Damon's doing this other stuff, and then Matt Damon's doing all these Steven Soderbergh movies and Ocean's 11, and then I feel like it slipped up when Ben Affleck started doing more directorial stuff, doing Argo and doing The Town and doing Gone Girl Gone Baby Gone. Gone Baby Gone. The other of the Gone. Biologies. Then I feel like Matt Damon was in a weird doing Stuck on You with Greg Kinnear where they played conjoined twins.
That movie's great. Then, how dare you?
Cher, fantastic. Meryl Streep's in that fucking movie.
Yeah, come off me.
Anyway, I don't even think that's my joke. I feel like I've read that somewhere that someone theorized that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon cannot be successful at the same time.
It's like when you can't get the strings even on your sweatshirt.
You're like, do I just rethread the whole thing?
Yeah, I got to start over. Hey, what do you think, everybody? You're in a trialsandidiot@gmail.com. You can text us or leave us a voicemail. 615-576-0525. We want to thank our patrons for supporting the show, including Just Cuz,
Lindsay Halik,
Little Miss Chicken Nugget,
The Zesty,
Zachary Hartley,
Jonathan Day,
Lindsay Nell,
Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom,
Josh Frigo,
Captain Jean-Luc Picard,
Particle Man,
Travis Vance,
The Elusive Fan Gromkin,
Larissa Maestro,
T. Smith,
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon. That was too Long Island. I'm sorry. I'd like to take that again. Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Diamond. No, wait, that got Australian on Damon. We'll let it slide.
David Mort,
Jeremy Powlen,
Caroline Amberson.
Oh, no, Damon's Australian accent.
Bill Haynes,
the supreme ruler of this podcast.
Shit on the Cartouche.
Karen Kurd,
The Hands of Fate.
Jody Passanisi,
Heather Tuggle,
Hizoner the Mayor,
Beth Surmont,
and Tommy Boy is my favorite movie. And this also goes out to my brother Sean.
Thank you
Go
all.
Pats!
Thank you all very much for supporting this show. If you want to support like them, patreon.com/Child's. Patreon.com/Child's an idiot. You suspect.
I don't have any lines. Hold on. I got a
Retainer. That's not what a retainer is, as far as I know. Retainer is something you pay like monthly to someone, which is he's offering
someone
a salary.
You would pay, by the hour. You just pay them to be basically a salaried employee.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's just as arbitrary as ordering drinking coffee. Fuck off. I don't care how beefy you are, how strong your jawline is, how thick your neck is, and you wear those shirts that are just oh so tight. Actually, the more I think about it, let's go eat caramels. That's
that sounds great.
That sounds great.